Of course, how can you study being without gravity on the ground when you have gravity? Well, various models were tried. The first we tried was water immersion, and that is sitting in water up to the neck, and you can induce the early changes that we see in space, the fluid shifting up to the upper part of the body in the same way the desire to pee, to get rid of the extra volume, which you know every child that goes into a swimming pool. No adults, just the children. It's exactly that reflex. But you could only keep people in water for 6 hours maximum, and we needed to study these people for days. So the next model was what we call bed rest, and that is lying in bed continuously for 24 hours. And what happens when you lie in bed, as I said, when you stand up, gravity is pulling in the head to toe direction. If I lie down, it's pulling only across my chest. We call that G sub X, but it's only across, so it's reducing the influence of gravity and the effectiveness of gravity on the body. And then this model, which we call head-down bed rest, which the Russians developed, is even more like being in space. That's the way the cosmonauts and the astronauts described it, and that's the model we used. My volunteers came up with this diagram. 7 days in bed, and that's the way they felt they had changed. Lying in bed causes the same changes as in space, just slower to develop. While doing one of these studies, I happened to be visiting the mother of a friend of mine at a nursing home. I looked around, and to my amazement, the changes I was seeing at the end of 7 days, even 7 days of bed rest, were not too dissimilar from the residents of the nursing home. And, you know, the muscle weakness, the bone loss, the shuffling, the walkers, the balance problems. And I thought, yeah, you know, this is similar, but it can't be the same. Surely it's not the same. After all, astronauts and the volunteers in bed rest recover once they get up and about in gravity. And after all, we assume, we believe, that we, as we age, do not recover from whatever it is that we call aging. Well, keep that thought. Do you recover from aging? We are living longer, there's no doubt about it. How many of you have a replacement of some type? Okay, well, be honest. Only? Is that all? How many pills do you take a day? How many take 10 a day? How many take 5 a day? Mm-hmm. None? Hey, good for you guys. Well done. We have good candidates here. Yet, we are unhealthier. What happened? How did we get so unhealthy? This is our ancestor. You don't recognize him? We took our ancestors' genes and plonked them in front of a computer or a television set in a nice, comfy chair, or put him in a car or a train. We sit now continuously anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a day. We designed reclining seats, comfy seats. We designed them. that lift us up so we don't need to strain ourselves to stand up. We sit for endless hours, and when we do sit for hours, we begin to stoop and slump, and our body deteriorates rapidly. Within 30 minutes of sitting, not 5 hours, 30 minutes, you can measure an increase in triglycerides.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. You know what triglycerides are? It's what you measure, either if you have diabetes or a pre-diabetic state. 30 minutes of sitting can increase the triglycerides, which means insulin resistance is beginning to set in. What we're doing is depriving ourselves of gravity. Sitting is now considered an independent risk factor, much like smoking, for illness such as diabetes, obesity, cancer, cardiovascular disease, pain, and premature aging. And each of these has been studied, and there's data on it. All kinds of cancer, cardiovascular disease, etc. I called it the gravity deprivation syndrome. It's a modern condition where space, lying in bed, as my subjects do, continuously, or sitting, over there, our ancestor, for endless hours, all induce the same aging symptoms, here down below, either because, like astronauts in space, they live in less gravity, or because we on Earth don't use gravity, or use it less. In the microgravity of space, we now know that, at least for bone, we see age-like loss of bone developing 10 times faster than it does on Earth. 10 times faster than it normally does on Earth. We normally say we lose about 1% a year. Astronauts lose about 10% a year. And some lose a whole lot more. So in a way, space can be used as a model of accelerated aging that we can use to study how we will be at a later stage. Changes with prolonged sitting or lying in bed are extensions of space or continuous bed rest. We think of aging as irreversible. Aging in years is not changed, but its symptoms can be delayed or reversed by lifestyle choices. Amen. And that's what I want you to, the message I want you to take away.